I guess it's time to start talking about music.
Fucking around with noise.
I can make it as dirty as I want to.
Culmination.
It makes really crazy noise.
And there's this idea also that in higher up music education that out of reach of the mere mortals who aren't spending all their time in there, that this is what you do. On whose authority?
I mean, that was like a breath of fresh air when he came to Carbondale.
I didn't come in right at the beginning, actually. Tony Youngblood, he started doing it and did 3 episodes of a show called OR, Prefab Audio Extrapolations.
That's OR. That's where it all starts, right there. Yeah, that was 99, 98, something like that.
If it hadn't been for Maddie, station manager at WIDB, then I wouldn't be doing It's Too Damn Early. He really kind of had like a hard-on for getting rid of the show.
This was his format.
He actually wanted to host a show that was just like TRL.
The Modern Music Meltdown, that's what he called his show. I mean, how gay does that get?
And I actually stole this program schedule because he didn't want anyone to know that this is what he was doing. I took this off his desk and I brought it to like one of the last meetings, and so we ended up kind of having a scene. But that was kind of the end of experimental music there at WIDB. Because we were only a webcast while I was there, I developed an international audience primarily. So I had people in Europe listening, and they would record the show and send it back to me, remixed, or changed, or like cut up, or remixed, or changed, or like cut up, or remixed, or changed, or like cut up, or changed, or remixed. And so we got this sort of really slow motion feedback loop across the Atlantic going, and how the show didn't just have to be DJing things.
He had been talking to Brandon and me about how much he liked what we were doing. So we decided to give him have him come over and check us out, because he said he did a bunch of circuit bending stuff and had a whole bunch of weird noise making toys. And to Brandon and I, that was just a godsend. He came and jammed a few songs with us, and that moment on, he became our third member.
When we play, it's hard to decide for me sometimes, just because we come up with so many different things, just playing together, just like jamming, that it's like hard to just, okay, well, what are we gonna go with?
Yeah. If we decide we're gonna start working on a new song, it's just like, and we just go.
I had a lot of instruments, but I didn't know how to play any of them.
When I was 10 or 9, I had maybe about 3 months of like acoustic folk guitar lessons. It didn't really appeal to me. I mean, it was probably the same thing with like baseball and other extracurricular activities where I just would lose interest because I couldn't go off on my own tangents. I have some right here. This isn't the bulk of my pedal collection. I mean, I don't collect, baseball cards or comic books or Pokemon cards.
Just because you have a delay pedal now doesn't mean you're experimental.
That's one idea right there.
Experimental music. Well, what are you told experimental music is, Alex?
That was what was different about it, was that we were making all of it ourselves. I mean, live and creating things ahead of time, but bringing it all in and assembling like the finished thing.
Music.
Music sound. Wave in the.
I think you might want to edit that out. The birthplace of the Pimps is really Juliette Berteau.
Yeah.
She is taking the place of a showgirl, a dancer, and she is trying to impersonate her friend. And she's out dancing in front of all of these men who are here to see a routine, a showgirl routine. She is totally failing at this impersonation to a ridiculous, ludicrous personification of who she is. And all these men are here to see a magic show. And Juliette Berteau is out there dancing around, stumbling in her routines, but is not even really concerned or embarrassed or humiliated at her performance, is more interested in indicting the audience themselves. She calls them all out for sitting there and waiting for some sort of show or some sort of miracle. "You're a load of cosmic twilight pimp," she says in French, which sounds kind of like a bad jam band in English.
It was a party house. This basement had a stone wall in the middle. There's an opening at the front, there's an opening at the back of the stone wall, and divides the basement into half, almost like two different dimensions. On the left, there is a keg. Guys with the sideways hats and polo shirts. There's something mischievous about the house proprietors. Over here, you have about 8 audience members, and I start playing. At one point, someone's like, "What is that? Shut up!" Just completely drown them out. These are people who my whole life have been drowning me out in one way or another. Drowning most people I know out. With just the over-assertion that what they're doing is right and repeating it over and over again.
That is how irritating it sounds to me.
You have a lot of power electronics circuit benders who are just interested in newfangled equipment, but you have some people who just want to get their hands on a really loud amp, crank it, and see what sort of brutal, mind-numbing sound they can get. I fall somewhere in between.
Like, as soon as we got done playing our first show, Dalton Kennerly just walks up to me, puts his hand on my shoulder and goes, "Brandon, sometimes you scare me." Just turns and walks off.
First time that you ever found yourself banging on pots and pans in your mother's kitchen, trying to get in touch with something more primal, more atavistic. What humanity was available to you inside the social construct that you existed in as a child, that
Is experimental music. It's one of those kind of terms where
It's invigorating. It's always exciting. It never gets old, especially
When it came on, it went.
And
It's got its shitheads and it's got people who are actually dedicated to it.
But right now,
really the most important thing
there are no rules, there are no limitations, and
It's not just a bunch of people wasting their time. I like it for the most part.
But I'm committed to sticking it out here, you know, and I cater this show to people in Southern Illinois. And that doesn't mean that I dumb it down, but what I do is I say I'm not as focused on breaking a brand new album. So I don't mind if I'm playing something that's 50 or 60 years old, because chances are it's brand new here anyway.
And then there are the handful of people in the scene who are actually like, this is something that needs to be done, this needs to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm going to dedicate myself to be a part of this community in a sense.
I'm referring to experimental music as the idea of change, because
If you're limited to like a certain structure, then it's just going to be like the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. But like experimental music is trying to come up with something new. Sometimes it doesn't sound very good because it's just that, it's an experiment, you know.
This is an art. I mean, I think of the show as art. In terms of it's my art. Maybe I utilize other people's art in part for doing the show, but it's also like an outreach program too. I mean, so it's a lot of different things all at once. And that's what it's always been about. It's not about like, say, I'm right, you're wrong. It's like, I'm just freaking excited about this, and how come you aren't?
Like, really, what is it that we want to do as far as expressing ourselves? Fuck pretension. Just do it, just for the sake of doing it.
Thank you.